The rich colors and inspiring music of K-animation spark the imagination and capture the eyes and ears of children around the world. Non-violent Korean animation that focuses on good influence. Through adventure and friendship, learn valuable lessons and realize the importance of friends. Covering topics such as family, friends, and courage, they help children learn how to interact with the world. Embark on imaginative adventures with new friends and dream together. K-Animation's special stories will warm your heart.
It's December 18th here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with the stories making the headlines at this hour. Starting with investigations into President Yoon Suk-yeol over his martial law order. Police investigating President Yoon's martial law order failed to search and seize a server stored in the presidential office's security office, with security officials blocking the raid. Yoon is also supposed to appear before the Corruption Investigation Office for high-ranking officials this morning following a summons, though it's unlikely that he will. The UN General Assembly adopted a resolution on North Korean human rights for the 20th straight year on Tuesday, while the U.S. slapped sanctions on 2 individuals and 1 entity for helping the reclusive regime launder illicit funds. The entire nation is feeling the coldest temperatures of this winter season, with the capital waking up to -5 degrees Celsius. The cold snap will linger until Thursday morning. As the probe into President Yoon's imposition of martial law continues, South Korean police made a new attempt on Tuesday to search the presidential office and obtain key evidence, but only to fail yet again. Our Peunji starts us off.
The special police team investigating President Yoon Suk-yeol over his declaration of martial law attempted to raid the President's Security Service Center on Tuesday, but failed to get inside the building even with a search warrant. After a standoff of almost 8 hours at the gates as the security team refused to cooperate, the investigators left at around 6 p.m. when the search warrant expired. The police have been aiming to get hold of the Security Service Center's computer servers that contain records of phone calls, including those between President Yoon and the National Police Agency Commissioner General. President Yoon reportedly made 6 phone calls to the police chief on the night of the martial law declaration and ordered him to arrest lawmakers. This is the second time that the police have failed to conduct a successful raid of the presidential office. Investigators were also blocked by the presidential security team last Wednesday and obtained only a portion of materials through voluntary submission. Meanwhile, the Joint Investigation Team, a collaboration between the police, the Defense Ministry, and the Corruption Investigation Office for high-ranking officials, have also been struggling with its probe. The team reported that a summons was sent via express mail to President Yoon's official residence on Tuesday, but it went undelivered as the president refused to accept it and return the package. The summons notifies Yoon of a request for him to appear at the CIO's office on Wednesday morning for questioning on accusations of insurrection and abuse of power. The team said they would regard not receiving the package as the president's decision to not comply with a summons, and said they would review sending another summons request. Heunji, Arirang News.
So the president hasn't complied with any of these summons, but his legal team says he will appear at public hearings in court to assert his position that his martial law declaration does not make him guilty of insurrection. Yoon has more.
President Yoon Suk-yeol will attend any public hearings for his impeachment review at the Constitutional Court, although his attendance is not mandatory. That is according to his lawyer, Seok Dong-yeon, on Tuesday, who said the president will confidently present his position in court if public hearings are scheduled, emphasizing that Yoon did not commit insurrection. Lawyer Seok, who is involved in the selection of Yoon's legal team, told reporters that from a legal perspective, the president is not concerned about insurrection charges, but because of the investigations, he will respond, likely to the trial phase. The lawyer emphasized that an insurrection is an action that is used to seize power, but a president is already in power. Therefore, the charges don't hold up legally. He stated that the focus should be on the opposition party's mismanagement of national affairs and violations of the Constitution. Lawyer Seok also outlined a three-way approach to the legal response: the investigation, the impeachment trial, and the court proceedings. Additionally, he clarified that the defense teams for the insurrection investigation and the impeachment trial will be separate, as they're fundamentally different. Meanwhile, no additional comments were made regarding whether the president will attend for the prosecutor's summons over allegations of insurrection and abuse of power. He also emphasized the need for coordination between the various investigative agencies regarding the issue of attendance, noting that a statement will be made in the coming days once these matters are reviewed and finalized. Yoon, Arirang News.
In the meantime, the ruling and opposition parties are struggling to meet in the middle over the prospect of filling constitutional court vacancies ahead of the court's ruling on the president's impeachment trial. Our political correspondent Shin-Ayoung reports.
Bipartisan tensions are escalating over the appointment of 3 vacant constitutional court justices for President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment trial. The disagreement focuses on whether acting President Han Duck-soo can make the appointments while President Yoon's duties are suspended following the passage of the impeachment motion. Ruling People Power Party acting chairman and floor leader Kwon Sung-dong argued on Tuesday that currently appointing constitutional court justices is beyond the authority of an acting president.
The acting president can appoint constitutional court justices when the presidency is vacant, but not when the president's duties are suspended.
However, main opposition Democratic Party floor leader Park Chan-dae emphasized that Yoon's impeachment trial should proceed under a 9-member constitutional court. Park countered Kwon's remarks, saying there was no issue with the acting president making appointments as the assembly recommends the justices and the acting president only approves them.
Claiming that an acting president can't make appointments during the president's suspensions is mere wordplay. The PPP should stop delaying procedures and quickly agree to set a date for the confirmation hearings.
The National Assembly Speaker and floor leaders of the rival parties met Tuesday afternoon to discuss the matter, but failed to reach an agreement, with Kwon and Park only reaffirming their differences. The court currently has only 6 justices, with 3 vacancies unfilled since October due to a failure by the rival parties to agree on appointments. In December, the DP proposed Jeong Kae-sun, chief judge of the Seoul Western District Court, and Ma Eun-hyuk, a senior judge on the same court, as candidates, while the PPP recommended attorney Cho Wan-chang. The DP is pushing to hold confirmation hearings for these candidates at the National Assembly next Monday and Tuesday, aiming to pass a confirmation motion during a plenary session next Friday. However, the PPP said that holding a plenary session needs to be discussed again, questioning whether it was appropriate to hold the confirmation hearing. Currently, just 1 judge is needed to reject the impeachment. However, if the 3 new judges are appointed in time to review and rule, it will take 4 judges to dismiss the impeachment. Shin-Ayoung, Arirang News.
So, according to President Yoon's legal team, Yoon will be in court for his impeachment trial, which hints that he will actively defend himself, saying that his martial law order did not amount to insurrection. Let's turn to Professor Cho Hee-kyung for more. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, President Yoon, let's say President Yoon does attend public hearings in court, which is highly likely. That will be the first time that any South Korean president has faced a constitutional court. Is that correct?
In person, yes. We've obviously had two other cases of impeachment trials in the past, in the case of Roh Moo-hyun and also in the case of Park Geun-hye, but neither of them actually attended in person at the Constitutional Court for their trials. This time, President Yoon has said that he will be attending in person. I guess that he has a very strong belief in his persuasive powers as a legal orator, and that he could probably, he's the best person to defend himself, possibly.
Right, so it'll be another historic moment for President Yoon to be in court to defend himself. Now, the thing is, the Constitutional Court says his impeachment trial, though, won't be televised live. Now, when do cases get aired and when do they not?
The general rule is that the cases, the actual hearing doesn't get aired, but the trial is open to the public. So if you wanted to, you can actually go to the Constitutional Court and attend the trial and witness it. Basically watch the trial going on in person. Also, the recordings, I mean, it's all videotaped and the videos are available on Constitutional Court website. So you can go and watch all of the trials that were held actually at the court online. But what will happen is that the final judgment and the explanation of how the judgment was reached. So the final day of judgment will actually be televised live, I believe, and that's what happened in the other two impeachment cases as well.
Well, Professor Cho, then are there specific reasons as to why the case is not being aired live this time for President Yoon?
Well, the general principle is that it doesn't get televised live anyway. And I understand that Yoon has requested it to be televised live, but that's not the normal rule. And I think there is also concern that Yoon might use it as a platform, basically, to appeal once again to his diehard supporters and possibly try to incite them into some sort of, insurrection movement like Trump did in January 6th riots in Washington. And so I think the court is also wary of something like that happening. So I think that's the reason why I believe they're not allowing it to be televised live. But it doesn't mean that you cannot actually go and attend the hearings if you wanted yourself.
I see. Let's talk about the investigations zeroing on President Yoon. Now, multiple teams are investigating Yoon. Now, he is yet to appear previous summons requested by the prosecutions or the joint investigation team. The question is, do you think he'll appear for the second summons request?
My understanding is that he hasn't even accepted the delivery of summons and even the statement of claim regarding the impeachment resolution and request to provide an answer of his own sent by the Constitutional Court. So he really has to be careful because that in itself can constitute grounds of showing unconstitutionality or unconstitutional conduct on the part of the president. That's what happened in Park Geun-hye's case. The Constitutional Court, among other things, said that her failure and repeated refusal to attend investigation, questioning, and to answer summons showed disregard for constitutional order and the law of the land. And so I think Yoon needs to be careful. But given his past history and conduct, it's unlikely that he will comply with the summons. I think he will have to be forcibly removed and forcibly made to attend any investigation questioning.
Well, does that mean he's taking the risk of even being arrested? Is that possible?
Absolutely. And in fact, I think that he might even be counting on being arrested and possibly, appearing sort of kind of being taken against his will by force, kicking and screaming. And that kind of image will, again, act as another kind of incitement to his supporters. So maybe he's aiming for that. But I hope that the law enforcement authorities will not let that kind of image, run on screen, and will do it more carefully than that.
Maybe it's a strategic move by Yoon. All right, Professor Jo, thanks so much for sharing your insights with us this morning. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.
With a little over a month until U.S. President-elect Donald Trump takes office, there are concerns over whether South Korea will be able to strengthen relations with the U.S. Speaking to reporters at his Mar-a-Lago club in Florida on Monday, his first news conference since election victory 6 weeks ago, Trump said he's willing to cooperate with leaders from countries including China, Russia, and Japan. Trump also called Chinese President Xi Jinping a friend and said that a meeting with Japan's Prime Minister Ishiba Shigeru could take place before his inauguration. But he made no mention of South Korea, raising speculation that Washington may bypass Seoul after Trump takes office in January. For the 20th straight year, UN General Assembly has adopted a resolution on human rights in North Korea, condemning its systematic and widespread human rights violations. Lee Seung-jae has the details.
The UN General Assembly on Tuesday adopted a resolution condemning North Korea's systematic and widespread human rights violations. And this year's adoption marked the 20th straight year that the UN General Assembly has done so. This year's resolution emphasized the need for the international community to address the human rights situation in North Korea in a unified manner, while expressing concerns over the regime's declaration that the pursuit of reunification with South Korea had ended. The resolution also requests the UN General Assembly's president to hold a high-level meeting to hear testimony from members of civil society and various experts to address the human rights violations and abuses in North Korea. It also included repeated calls for North Korea to end practices and laws that suppress freedom of thought, expression, and religion. And as they have each year, North Korea responded to the passage of the resolution, referring to the regime with anger. North Korea's ambassador to the UN, Kim Sung, said that the North condemns in the strongest terms and totally rejects the draft resolution submitted by the European Union. He called it a grave politically motivated provocation aimed at violating the dignity and sovereignty of its state. Kim also called the resolution nothing but a political plot and an anti-North Korean confrontational document that was completely fabricated with falsehood and distorted information by hostile forces. The UN General Assembly has adopted the resolution on North Korean human rights annually since 2005 to shed light on the regime's human rights violations and to renew calls for Pyongyang to tackle the issue. However, no progress has been made as the resolution is not legally binding under international law. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
And the U.S. has sanctioned 2 individuals and 1 entity for their role in laundering illicit funds generated by North Korean IT workers and cybercrime. According to U.S. Treasury Department on Tuesday, the department's Office of Foreign Assets Control sanctioned 2 Chinese individuals and a UAE-based front company called Green Alpine Trading. The department accuses them of running money laundering and cryptocurrency conversion services that funneled money to Pyongyang. The Treasury Department vowed to continue disrupting the networks that facilitate the flow of such funds to the north.
Good morning, I'm Kim Xiang, and this is The World Now. Now, a senior U.S. military official said on Tuesday that North Korean forces have suffered several hundred casualties fighting against the Ukrainian military in Russia's Kursk region. The U.S. official, who spoke to AFP and Reuters under condition of anonymity, said that several hundred casualties is the U.S. military's latest estimate and that those numbers include everything from light wounds up to being killed in action. Now, the official added that all ranks are among the North Korean casualties and that the high number of casualties is likely because these are not battle-hardened troops. The U.S. official's comments come a few days after Ukraine's commander-in-chief, Oleksandr Syrsky, said Russia has been deploying North Korean troops in an intensive offensive in Russia's Kursk region. Previously, the Pentagon has said that North Korea has sent some 10,000 troops to Russia in support of its war against Ukraine. A high-ranking Russian general was killed by an explosion in Moscow early on Tuesday, an assassination claimed by Ukraine's security service. According to Russia's investigative committee, Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov, head of Russia's nuclear, biological and chemical defense forces, and his assistant were killed by a remotely detonated improvised explosive device hidden in a scooter outside a Moscow residential block. Now, Kirillov is the most senior Russian military official to be killed since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. A source in Ukraine's SBU security service told the BBC that Kirillov was a legitimate target after Ukrainian prosecutors charged the Russian general in absentia on Monday over the mass use of banned chemical weapons during its invasion of Ukraine. The Ukrainian government is yet to officially comment on the assassination. Now, the deputy chairman of Russia's Security Council, Dmitry Medvedev, said on Tuesday that Moscow must find the killers, adding that Ukraine will face revenge. Moving over to the U.S., a Manhattan grand jury has indicted Luigi Mangione on Tuesday with murder charges over the death of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson. The charges include killing as an act of terrorism. The indictment says Mangione faces 11 counts, including murder in the first degree, 2 counts of murder in the second degree, one of which includes a terrorism charge, alongside other forgery and weapon charges. Now, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg said at a news conference on the same day that this was a frightening, well-planned, targeted murder and that the accusation of terrorism was due to the shooting taking place in most bustling parts of our city, threatening the safety of local residents and tourists alike. Now, 26-year-old Mangione has been denied bail and is scheduled to appear for a court hearing on December 19th. In India, over 100 couples were married in a mass marriage ceremony in the country's western city of Surat on Monday. Now, this special event was organized by Indian businessman Mahesh Savani to give orphaned girls a chance to tie the knot. It catered to the religions of the total of 111 couples, and relatives and friends were also invited to join. Savani has married off more than 900 disadvantaged girls since 2008.
Hope you're dressed extra warmly today. Most regions had the coldest temperatures of the season so far this morning, and the wind chill factor dragged down the feels-like temperatures to below -9 degrees Celsius in the capital. A cold wave advisory is in place for northern parts of Gyeonggi-do and Gangwon-do provinces. And on top of that, wet clouds are dropping snow and freezing rain to Chungcheong-namdo and Jeollado provinces, as well as Jeju Island. Ulleungdo and Dokdo are seeing massive amounts of snowfall, with a heavy snow advisory being issued. And their snow could be falling down up to 20 centimeters into tomorrow. East Coast regions could see 3 to 10 centimeters of heavy snowfall. Bundle up and be safe. Meanwhile, temperatures will be extra cold even with a lot of sunshine in the capital with a high of 1 degree Celsius, but feels like temperatures will be below freezing all day. Daegu, Gyeongju make it to 4 degrees. Cold weather should ease tomorrow afternoon with more rain and snow in the forecast across much of Korea. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
That's all we have for this morning. Arirang News will be back at 5 p.m. Korea time. Thanks for watching.
How to survive in Korea. Weddings. Step 0. Attire. As a guest, dress formal to business casual. Avoid wearing all white, shorts or going topless. Step 1. Arrival time. Arrive 30 minutes prior to the wedding ceremony. Too many cars, too many halls, too many people. There are many twists and turns. Take pictures and shake hands. And write your name vertically, not horizontally, in the guest book. Step 2. Or, shibor. 50,000 won, 100,000 won, 150,000 won. Cash gifts are given in these units. Decide on the amount based on your relationship. Write your name vertically on the envelope. Step 3. Wedding etiquette. Fill up the front row. Guests have 3 duties to fulfill: clapping, cheering, and taking pictures. Step 4. Dining. Take off your jacket. This will be your seat from now on. Start with the not your everyday delicacies. Galbijjim. Yes. Bosa. Yes. Chili shrimps. Definitely yes. Kimbap. Yeah. Only if you can't live without it. No need to pile up food. You have more than one opportunity. Did you survive the wedding? Wait. Did someone catch your eye? What are you waiting for? You're looking fine today.
K-drama, the charm of Korea that captivates the world. Love like a K-drama. A story of us where hope and despair coexist. Fun and refreshingly satisfying. K-dramas carry warmth and move people's hearts. Meet the fascinating stories of Korea through K-dramas.
Bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bring news just for you. It's Wednesday, December 18th here in Seoul. I'm Song Yujin, and you're watching News Generation. Today, we're joined by Park Ki-woon.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us, and Julie and Kim.
Thank you for also having me today.
Thank you for also joining us. Now, both here to speak on behalf of those in their 20s and 30s. So, it's Wednesday, which means we're going to start with our keyword news of the day. Today's keyword is sleep. If you're only getting 6 hours of sleep a day, you might want to rethink your habits. That's because in 25 years, you could look like this. Now, this is Hannah, an AI model created by British bed furniture brand Benson's for Beds and sleep expert Dr. Sophie Bostock. And Hannah was developed based on 19 research papers exploring the effects of lack of sleep. And Hannah is suffering from chronic back pain, thinning hair, sagging skin, swollen legs, red baggy eyes, and a weakened immune system. And experts recommend 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night, as adults sleeping fewer than 7 hours are more prone to health issues. So here in the studio, I want to ask our panelists, how much sleep do you get per night on average? And do you have any tips on getting enough and good sleep?
Yeah, so I try to get a minimum of 7 hours of sleep each night, but there are those nights where it's hard to get those 7 hours of sleep. While I like to blame it on having a lot on my plate, 9 times out of 10 is because I'm just scrolling away on my phone.
Same here.
Yeah, so I guess the number one tip is to put your phone as far away from your bed as possible. But if that doesn't work, try focusing on improving your sleep hygiene. Sleep hygiene refers to healthy habits and environmental factors that are conducive to having a good night's sleep. And chances are there are multiple factors that are affecting your sleep. So create a consistent routine, invest in quality bedding, and watch it regularly. Avoid stimulants like coffee, alcohol, especially later in the day. And these small changes can make a huge impact.
You indeed sound like a sleep expert, Julian.
I try my best.
Very helpful advice on getting quality sleep. Now, what can you tell us, Yoon?
What can I tell you? I am someone who really puts a lot of emphasis on sleep as well, because it's really closely related to health issues, like you just mentioned in the newsfeed. I think, yes, sleeping at least, 7 hours, 7 to 9 hours is very important, but I think it's also important like when you sleep as well. If you sleep at like 2, 3 in the morning and sleep 7 hours, it's going to feel different to when you actually fall asleep before midnight.
Right.
And also, I think the quality of sleep is very important as much as the quantity. So in terms of quality, I really try to sleep in a very fixed posture before I fall asleep.
Like a mummy.
Like a mummy, like this. Because I heard that if you sleep on the side, it's not really good for your back and your organs as well. So I try to sleep like a mummy before I fall asleep, and I also take extra care in humidity.
Oh,
and also
humidity,
ventilation,
very important.
which is also very important factors determining the quality of your sleep. So I always leave my door open, my window as well, and especially during winter when we have the heating on, the air can get very dry, and the next morning you'll have very dry throat, which is going to affect the rest of your day. So I use a humidifier every now and then. And in Korea, people actually used to wet their towels.
Oh, right.
Hang it on top of their heads, on top of the bed to keep the room very humidified, and just things like that. And also bedding as well. I use very expensive pillow and bed. It was a big investment I made, but it really helped the quality of my sleep.
Very great advice on guaranteeing quality sleep for our panelists. Hope our viewers try this out as well. And that was our keyword news for this Wednesday. So we're now going to move on to our main discussion of the day. Today we're going to focus on the latest lifestyle trends among our generation. Take a look at the screen to find out more.
Many travelers who visited Korea often praise the public transport system, calling it one of the best parts of their trip. Fast, punctual, frequent, and comfortable. Korea's public transportation is renowned worldwide. If you're new to it, stay tuned as we explore it further today on News Gen.
So we're going to start off our episode today with a very light but relevant question to our topic. How did you get here to the studio this morning?
Well, even though I should be saying I use public transport.
Please tell the truth.
Oh, I actually drove my car. I drive to work every day, but for legit reasons. First of all, there is less traffic when I actually commute, so the commuting times doesn't overlap with the rush hour, so it takes me half the time by driving than actually using public transport. That's my first reason. Second reason is I try almost every day. I head to the gym right after work, so I put all my luggage, gym clothes, and even my lunch as well in my car. Because I don't want to be carrying around it to work every day. And lastly, I drive a car that has a low emission. It's a low emission vehicle, which is very close to an eco-friendly car. So I guess I am minimizing pollution while maximizing the efficiency of my time. So that's the reason why I drive to work. But on weekends and when I have to travel a little far, I would definitely use public transport, as I have been for the past 15 years living in Korea. And I'm very fond of using Seoul Metro trains and buses as well, because it's super efficient. That we will talk about much later today.
Okay, but anyway, Yoon drove his car to the studio this morning.
So do you, don't you?
Yes, so did I. But I also regularly use public transportation during the weekend, because just like Yoon, it takes me double amount of time to get to work by using public transportation than driving from my house. So I'd say that our reasons are legit, hopefully. Then what about you, Julian?
Yeah, so I actually took the bus today.
Oh.
It's not too long it doesn't take too long to get to the studio from where I live, so commuting by bus isn't too difficult for me. And I'll take public transportation for all three of us then.
Okay. But anyways, we all mentioned that we regularly and often use public transportation when we get around here in the country. And data shows that most people in Korea do rely on public transport for their daily commute, whether it's to school or work. So could you tell us a bit more about this, Yoon?
Sure thing. Statistics have shown that Koreans are heavily reliant on public transport, mostly subways and buses, when it comes to going to school or work. So let's take a look at the screen to find out more. According to a survey conducted from July 2022 to June 2023 by Statista, a German online platform specializing in data gathering, South Korea ranked first at 41% as the top country to use public transport for commuting. Poland ranked second at 39%, then Austria, Mexico, and Spain. People like me who actually drive their cars to work accounted for around 22% here in Korea. And the reasons behind using public transport was obviously it was the fastest way to get to work or school. It saves cost. They're able to manage time while using public transport, and of course, avoiding traffic. That's the last thing you want to be stuck in.
Right, especially when you're in a rush.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So Kyu mentioned that 41% of people in South Korea use public transportation to commute, either to get to school and work. And besides the reason Kyu mentioned, there must be a lot of reasons why public transportation is such a preferred option here in the country. And I want to ask our panelists for your opinion, because you've both lived abroad, for Julian in the States and for Yoon in Australia. So I want to ask you, how does Korea's public transportation stand out when compared to other countries?
Oh, it's like night and day. When I lived in the U.S., I had to drive everywhere. But now living in Korea, I drive maybe like once or twice a month. It's incredibly free not to depend on a car as the primary mode of transportation. And it's not just about daily commuting too. For example, when it comes to domestic travel, back in California, I would either have to drive like 7 hours if I wanted to go from LA to San Francisco, or take a flight. And in contrast, Korea offers like a high-speed rail network, and that connects most regions, so making travel very affordable and efficient here. Now, I've used public transportation in many different cities and countries, but Seoul's public transit is by far my favorite, actually. It's affordable, it's safe, it's clean, and it's dependable. Right now, it's actually about like 1 degree Celsius here in Seoul, and the train seats are heated. Yeah, if you take the bus, some bus stops even have enclosed booths that have AC, heating, Wi-Fi, and outlets too. Now, these features feel like a luxury, and I definitely enjoy them, but what stands out to me the most is the reliability and efficiency of them. I can count on minimal delays, and depending on Seoul's public transportation for commuting, travel has never been an issue for me.
Right, so it also helps you effectively manage your time and schedule, because you know when your next bus or subway will arrive. Then what do you think is special or unique about Korea's public transport system, Yoon?
Well, I came to Korea from Sydney, Australia 15 years ago, a long time ago. And from my memory of the last time I used public transport there in Sydney, it was incomparable to the Seoul Metro. The trains would run approximately every 20 minutes. So if you missed your train, you'll most probably be late to school, which I've been many times. And many trains didn't have air conditioning nor the heating system, only windows. And they weren't the most clean in terms of like seeing rubbish on the floor and in seats. And of course the smell as well. And there were also graffiti on the outside, and like just a lot of scribbles and graffitis on the inside. And I remember, being one of them as well, like using my name pen to just write silly stuff long time ago. I'm sure they got rid of it. Anyway, I just want to emphasize that this was 15 years ago. So I actually asked my friend who lives in Sydney right now, or she's been living there for a long time, how it was nowadays, how the Sydney Metro was. And she said, it's gone so much better. It's actually very much like the Korean Seoul Metro, because she's a reliable source, because she actually visited Seoul a few months back and said, you know, back in Sydney, it's very similar to the Seoul Metro. It's super efficient, it's fast, it's clean, and like all the air conditioning, heating as well. So I think, you know, Australia is definitely on the right track in terms of public transport.
Hope we can see more countries implementing this change in their public transport. Now, we've heard from our panelists. To hear some other opinions as well, we're going to invite a Gen Z in Laos who lived in Korea to join our talks after a short break.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search our channel Arirang News. Click Community and leave a comment down below. Make a new type of news with us.
Welcome back. Joining us today is Pusavan Chamala, a Gen Z from Laos. Pusavan majored in theater and film at Kyunghee University in Seoul. Welcome to the show, Pusavan.
Hi Julian, hi Ki-hoon, and hi Eugene.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Right,
Yes.
so Pusavan, we first want to ask you, how long did you live in Korea, and what surprised or impressed you the most about Korea's public transport when you first used it?
Well, I lived in Korea for 5 years, and now first thing that I was really surprised about Korea was the bus. There are so many buses, like the bus from the city, from town to town, and also from in between, within the small town. I really love that kind of bus. They have so many types of buses. And there were things that I remember from living that is the subway. I remember last year I went for the New Year night, and the subway used to close at midnight, but on that day they extend until 2 a.m. It was so nice to catch the subway home on that day.
Right. Yeah, night bus is a really, really big thing here in Korea as well. Do you think public transportation here in Korea is enough to get around and explore the country?
Yeah, it is. I use a lot of them. I use them almost all the time when I have to travel from city to city. Like I use the KTX to get to Busan. Also, I use the bus. There is a bus from city to city. So I used to live in Suwon. I took the midnight bus in Suwon to Busan on that day. It was a midnight bus and it arrived at 4 a.m. in the morning. It was so nice. You can take a little nap and you arrive at your destination. And also the good thing about Korean public transportation is the time. They really secure the time that on the exact time. If it's say like on 10, it's going to be on 10. I really love that.
So going off of that, are there any improvements you would like to see in the Korean public transportation system?
From now, what I can see is they provide Wi-Fi, the charging, and also they provide some heater and air conditioning for the waiting at the station. For what I can say is some improvement that they need is the rushing hour. There is not enough bus in the rushing hour, and every bus is canned. Everyone is pushing each other really hard. If it could be improving for that, it would be great.
Right. Hope we can see those improvements in the future. All right, Pusavan, thank you so much for sharing your experience today.
Thank you for having me here today.
Thank you. Right, so it's now time to take a look into what our viewers think. We also asked them which services from Korea's public transport they'd like to see implemented in their own countries. And here's what 3 of them said. Our first comment for the day, Chabria says, I would like platform gates in the subway to prevent injuries and death while waiting for the train. Fare gates that shock fare evaders would be great too. You have no idea how great Korea's public transportation system is until you've ridden NYC Transit. Fuyushita Riso 1 says, I wish for a functioning public transport, to be honest. Have you heard of the Deutschbahn? Benny D97, I want to have smart shelters and also real-time information. So we did our live interview and also we've read our viewers' comments. So besides what Pusavan and our viewers mentioned, what do you think are some of the other standout benefits or the best parts about using Korea's public transport system?
First and foremost, the public transport system in Korea is very affordable. No matter how efficient and safe they are, if they're too costly, it's not going to be accessible and appealing to the general public. So in Korea, in the Seoul metro area, metropolitan, you can transfer up to 4 times for free from both the subway and the bus, depending on what line and route you use. Plus, the Seoul metropolitan government recently introduced a climate card called 기후동행 card in Korean. This is a transportation card anyone can purchase that provides unlimited use of public transportation like subway, bus, and even 따릉이 or the Seoul bike for a period of 30 days after charging with a one-time fare. So the 30-day pass with 따릉이 included costs 65,000 Korean won, which is around $45, and this allows you to travel pretty much anywhere in Seoul, from like Hongdae, Gyeongbokgung, Seongsu-dong, and even to Gangnam. So these are all these popular areas within Seoul, and this is definitely a must for foreigners and people, especially without a car.
Right, so the system is not only affordable for local residents, but also for tourists who are traveling the country as well. So Kyun mentioned affordability as one of the biggest advantages of Korea's transport system. What do you think, Julian?
Yeah, Yeah, like I mentioned before, Korea's public transportation facilities are just amazing. Korea's summers are known for being extremely hot and the winters here are incredibly cold, so waiting for the bus can be hard for passengers. Luckily, both the buses and trains have AC and heating strong enough to feel like it's like the opposite season right now. So buses have heated seats and some even have waiting booths that are equipped with heating and cooling systems. There's Wi-Fi everywhere, and each stop has screens that give real-time information on when the train or bus will arrive.
Right, so this is definitely a big advantage, especially if you're planning to travel during the summer or during the cold winter, which the country is in right now. Now, our panelists mentioned various modes of public transport from buses, trains, and subways, but we want to focus more on buses right now because buses in Korea are evolving rapidly. For example, autonomous driving buses have been on the rise over the past few years. I remember covering Seoul City's first autonomous bus about 2 years ago, and last year it actually introduced the first autonomous night bus, right?
Absolutely, that is correct. This was imposed to alleviate the burden of bus drivers driving late into the night and early in the morning, and also to help early commuters. So this autonomous driving bus became the first ever night bus in the world to run on a regular basis. And to minimize any accidents, all passengers must be seated with their seatbelts under the supervision of a safety worker in the bus. And also the bus system plans to increase routes into rural areas to help those who have less access to public transport. So the bus system in Seoul is highly efficient. It's always on time, but people have raised issues. It's not as accessible in rural areas. So we're trying to expand into those areas where almost anyone can have access to these kind of buses late into the night.
Definitely. So it's expanding its operation hours and also expanding the areas that they'll be operated. But buses are also set to expand their role, not just as a way to get around, but as a tourist attraction. Going back to Seoul City once again, the city government has plans to launch a bus that will even travel on the water, not just the roads. So could you please give us a sneak peek, Julian?
Yeah, so Seoul is set to launch a new water transportation system called the Han River Bus in March of 2025. Now, it's definitely not an actual bus that's floating around. It's more like a river cruise ship. These ships will have panoramic windows so passengers can enjoy the scenery outside. Personally, the Han River is one of my favorite places to go to, and I highly recommend visiting. Every time my friends abroad come visit, I like to take them there too. So that is why I'm especially excited to see this new water transportation system. And I'm excited to see what it will be like because I think it will be great for both commuters and tourists to get around the city, taking in the views of the river and traveling efficiently.
Right, it seems to be definitely be groundbreaking mode of public transportation that will be introduced in Korea once again next year. Now, public transportation is and will be the most convenient and cost-effective way for tourists to explore most countries, which of course includes Korea. So ending off, for our viewers who are watching our episode today, do you have any tips on making the most out of Korea's public transportation as someone who lives in the country?
So to further explain the climate card that I mentioned before, it's offered in the Seoul metropolitan area only for now. So there are also 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, and even a 7-day pass to suit the travel length and the needs of visitors, and especially foreigners as well. Furthermore, there is a map application on your smartphone that you can download for free, obviously. It not only does it give you various ways to reach your destination, but it also tells you which gate number you should use for the quickest transfer in subways, which makes everything so much more efficient. Because sometimes when you transfer in subways, you may have to walk a long distance and end up missing your subway. But these apps actually tell you exactly where to get on, which carriage, and that will give you like the immediate access to the transfer of the next subway. And I think there's a reason why Korea has evolved so quickly over the past decades for its like fast-paced, efficient society in life, because we love using the term 82-82. Do you know what that means?
What does it mean?
Oh, in Korean, it's 빨리빨리, which means quickly. So I think Koreans are known to do things really quickly. Hence, like if you look at the bus and the subway system, it's so efficient, super quick, and it's affordable as well. So that's why even foreigners, they're in awe when they actually use public transport. Because I feel it as well, especially when I travel to other countries. I feel, oh wow, Korean transport system is the best. I can say this like through experience.
And they can make the most of their experience by using the map applications like you mentioned and also the climate card as well. Now, what tips do you have, Julian?
Yeah, so going off the navigation apps, download a domestic navigation app like Naver Maps or Kakao Maps to easily navigate Korea's public transportation system. Now, these apps work seamlessly across the entire country, and also many signs in these stations are in English, so going around should not be too difficult. And a personal tip, if you're unsure about what direction to go to, check your phone app like the map and see what the next stop is, because chances are the next stop will match like the direction of the subway you're going to, so that is a good way to make sure you're taking the right train. So for buses too, you can also check the bus stop ID number that is both on the stop as well as on your app. And yeah, if you're visiting Korea, don't worry too much. This country is known to have one of the best transit systems in the world. So just enjoy it. And if you are struggling, there are plenty of resources here to help you.
Right, and you can always ask for help as well when you're having trouble using public transportation here. And that's all from Newsgen today, but we'll be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time. Special thanks today to Park Yoon.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you. And Julian Kim.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. We are News Generation.
AI, what are some dishes you should try in Korea?
Recommended food to eat in Korea are Korean barbecue, fried chicken, kimchi, kimbap, 국밥.
에이, 이걸로는 부족하지. 진짜 한국에선 어떻게 먹는지 알려줄까? K-바비큐? 신김치랑 먹어야지. 치킨? 클래식한 치킨부터 한강뷰 치킨까지. 치맥 페스티벌은 처음이지? 김치? 종류만큼 먹는 법도 가지각색. 김밥? 시장에선 이렇게, 산에선 이렇게, 바다에선 이렇게. 국밥? 취향 따라, 입맛 따라. 마무리까지 완벽하게.